The Portuguese capital is known for its delicious custard tarts, its iconic trams, and a third thing. But they also have a wide range of world-class sports venues, as well as some less good ones. With that being said, here are the stadiums and arenas of Lisbon. Estádio de Restelo was built on the site of what was a small quarry, which is certainly not a unique origin story when it comes to stadiums. I guess the remnants of a quarry fertilize the soil in a way that is ideal for growing stadiums. There is one side of the stadium that is the odd one out, and that'll be the southern stand, which is not only much smaller than the rest, but it also doesn't have a roof. However, as you can see, that does mean that the ground opens up to a panoramic view of San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. I guess I have to apologize to all the flat earthers out there. Estádio do Bonfim Setúbal is on the outskirts of the Lisbon metro area. So in some ways it's out of town, but the stadium is slap bang in the middle of Setúbal itself. In a bizarre coincidence, Setúbal has the highest concentration of Vitória Setúbal supporters, so it worked out for the best. In terms of its design, well, it's kinda like a stripped back version of the last one. Smaller, much less roof coverage, and you can't even see San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. Praça de Touros de Campo Pequeno. I have mixed feelings about this place because it's undoubtedly an architectural masterpiece, with historical significance. But it was also built to accommodate bullfighting, which is a grotesque practice in my opinion, and it still takes place here. To be fair, they don't actually kill the bull in front of the audience in Portuguese bullfighting, just a slight bit of stabbing in the back. The venue has been modernized in the last couple of decades, most notably the addition of a removable roof, which helps the arena host non-stabby events like basketball and concerts and exhibitions. Estádio da Luz, meaning Stadium of Light, is one of many stadiums in the country and one of two stadiums in the city that was built just prior to the 2004 Euros, where tens of thousands of Portuguese fans witnessed their team lose the final to Greece in this stadium. The ground shares its name with Benfica's previous stadium that was located nearby and was demolished in the same year that this stadium opened. This Estádio da Luz is much smaller than its predecessor, but it looks better, it has much more covered seating, and it's still the largest stadium in Portugal. Next door we have Pavilhão Fidelidade, which opened alongside Benfica's football ground both physically and chronologically. It's not only home to Benfica's basketball team, but as you can see it also hosts roller hockey, which would have to be the most dangerous sport. For me, personally, I suck at roller skating. Like next door, the supporting beams are done up in the club's specific shade of red. It's looking good. Altice Arena. At first glance, this building might just seem like any other sleek modern sports arena, but the main inspiration behind the design is a horseshoe crab. Oceanic futurism they call it, they don't, but it was initially built to host Expo 98, which was ocean themed, and that's part of the reason why the roof is made of timber. More sustainable, I guess. It's the largest indoor sports venue in the country, although it doesn't currently have a permanent sporting tenant. It just hosts the occasional big event. Estádio Nacional is Estádio Nacional in name only. The Portuguese team usually plays at the more modern venues throughout the country, but it once was a genuine national stadium. The design was partially inspired by Berlin's Olympic Stadium, but one major difference is, well, two major differences. I don't think Hitler had any input here, and the second major difference is the topography. It's sunken into the earth and surrounded entirely by trees. And due to Lisbon's lack of high-rises, you could be mistaken for thinking that you weren't even in a city at all. I love that. Estádio Alfredo da Silva. This is about as simple as it gets when it comes to stadiums of this size. I believe the architect just gave the builders a picture frame to go off instead of blueprints. They did a good job, to be fair. Adding to the simplicity, the capacity is coming from bench seating throughout, other than the boxes of course. But I guess a stadium doesn't have to be distinctive. It still looks like a nice place to watch a match. Estadio da Tapadina. Although this ground could in theory host 10,000 spectators, it is restricted to 4,000. One stand was closed for safety reasons. And it's understandable that the stadium is not in the best shape, because it's nearly 100 years old. It's the oldest football ground you'll see in this video. And Atletico Club de Portugal is a small club. This ground was actually initially built because Benfica kicked this club's predecessor out of what was their shared ground at the time. Pavilão João Rocha. This might be a small arena, but architecturally speaking, it's very impressive. Okay, the exterior, consisting of mostly perforated metal, is pretty boxy and boring. It's really the interior that I'm a big fan of. Whether it be the distinctive Tron-like lighting setup, the intimate seating layout, or the fact that there is just exposed concrete everywhere. It's just gotta be one of my favorite arenas on the continent. Estadio José Alvalade. This is home to the second biggest club in the city and was also built prior to the 2004 Euros. It's gotta be one of the loudest stadiums going round. And I'm talking visually loud rather than sonically loud. Although I'm sure the decibels get pretty high here as well. That busy colour scheme used to carry over to the interior, however, a few years ago they installed some new monochromatic seats. I do think that probably does look a bit better, to be fair. Although I did hear that Skittles sales were down in Lisbon shortly after these new seats were added. Estadio José Gomes. In the battle of the Josés, this one comes off second best. The last one cost around 200 million euros to build, whereas this stadium was just last year purchased by the club that plays here for a measly 2 million euros. However, to be fair, 2 million euros seems like a bargain for this place. And with that money they would have used to pay rent, they too have installed some new seats throughout the ground. Also, the Battle of the Josés is not a real thing. And those were the stadiums and arenas of Lisbon, Portugal. Please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And as always, thanks for watching, have a good one.